Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So pumped to have you here on this particular episode, as it's with my dear friend, Ryan Tomita of Middle Finger Mantras. This was also an episode that was in front of a live audience for another Just Grow podcast live event here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. So it was a really special room. Samantha Harper blessed us with some sound healing beforehand. And then Ryan and I dropped in, had some great conversations. He's one of the most incredible people that I've ever met. And he's really building this community of men, helping them rise up, be the best versions of themselves. So we talked a lot about masculine versus feminine, how to navigate relationships, friendships, especially in this world of technology and social media when we have more options than we ever have had in history. So you're not going to want to miss this particular episode, not 1 second. Now, before we do jump in, I want to let you know about our next podcast event, which will be with Samantha Harper, who did the sound healing last time. It'll be on March 29th. It'll be at 6:30 p.m. You can go get tickets and learn all the information over at justgrowpodcast.com. The link will be in the show notes. But without further ado, let's jump in this interview with Ryan Tomita.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
This is good.
Incredible.
Can we give a round of applause for Ryan Tomita of Middle Finger Mantras? So for the people that don't know about Ryan, who knows Ryan here in the room? Okay, so like about 50%, 60%. So as I mentioned, Ryan is just an incredible human being. He started this brand and movement called Middle Finger Mantras. Yeah! Hey! And just to give you, we'll obviously dive into it, but just to give you a little lens of this, is the first retreat that we went on, we went and camped. We went hand-to-hand combats. I've never done that before. I think I was the only one, and I was just getting smacked around. So great. And then an hour later, we're doing breath work, we're meditating, we're having deep conversations, we're sharing how much we mean to each other. And that's the kind of shit that he's putting on. And it's fucking incredible, man, because it's needed right now. And obviously we're gonna dive into this, but I just wanna say that I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm honored to be your friend, because this shit ain't easy. And I know when you started it, you said, I don't want this to be about me. And it's not, but you are stepping into this whole new era. You've been investing into yourself. You've been really showing up. And that's not easy. I know firsthand, just like the journey that I've been on, where it's really tough to throw events just from a personal standpoint, but also a business standpoint. And this wasn't really in the plan when you started Mantras. But here you are, just showing the fuck up, and I'm so damn proud of you.
Thank you, bro. That means a lot.
So, where should we start?
It's a really interesting question. I might have to sit with that for a second. Breathe into it. We'll get into this later. Yeah, you said that this isn't about me. and it never really was intended to be. And I don't want to make it about me, but I also think that the experience that I've had and what I've observed is important to share. I think that we're living in a world right now where men are hurting, they're frustrated, and that hurt is cascading to other people. And we have to fucking change it. I think that the way that we've been taught on how to be men is flawed, and that's being really made apparent by the silent epidemic, or I should say the loud epidemic, of men silently suffering with anxiety, depression, and thoughts of suicide. And so the work that I've been doing over the last 9 months has been revolving around connecting with men on a daily basis, building a brotherhood, and identifying common threads, common struggles, common beliefs, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
I asked this question, so there was essentially a round table conversation that we had of the masculine versus the feminine within ourselves, because we all have that. It's kind of a new concept to me, over the last couple of years, but it really makes so much sense. So a question that I asked that night, and it always is kind of the question I always like to ask, why? Like, why has it gotten this way? Why has it gotten here? And where did it start? What is like the root of the problem?
Yeah, I think the question was like, where does toxic masculinity stem from? And I think we have to give credit where credit's due. Nathan Curry's currently in a darkness retreat, so sending him love right now. But he's really the one that spoke to this so eloquently. I think collectively we are ascending in consciousness, and the masculine energy in its essence has not changed, but the integration of the feminine is something that we're coming into to receive more balance, a more yin and yang approach, whereas toxic masculinity we would define as hyper-masculinity, stagnant masculinity. Going back to the discussion about an elevation in consciousness is we are realizing that there is a better way. It's coming online. And we're starting to see that it's way more harmonious, there's way more love, that everyone can get what they want, and do so in a way that does not hurt people in their path. And I feel like masculinity 1.0 is that toxic masculinity. It's the suck it up, keep going, push through. If you're in my way, you better move the fuck out, because I've got a mission. And masculinity 2.0 is balanced with the feminine, where there's empathy and compassion in a way where it's of service. We can get everything that we want without destroying everything that is in our way.
It's something we thought of, like just like a little housekeeping thing. If you guys resonate with anything, like just give us some snaps or wave or jumpy jacks, whatever you want to do. But I thought
Deuces. That's my sister, by the way.
Deuces. But I thought a really profound thing that Nathan was talking about is like there's equal masculine and feminine in everything. This world is completely balanced. I always say for every Gandhi there was a Hitler. For every yin and yang. So this is a really simple way that I understood it, is that like look at this can. Like there's equal masculine and feminine. The masculine is the can. It's the structure. It's what holds everything together. And then the feminine is the bubbly bubbles. So when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But like, if you look at it in this like, quote unquote, toxic masculinity, it's like, oh, it's just can. Like what?
Yeah.
No, what are you gonna drink? But it's not just bubbles, because it'd just be all over the place. So it's equal and it's balanced. Now it's not always gonna be balanced, especially in the micro, but on the macro,
Yep.
there's balance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's one of those topics that requires an in-depth discussion because there's polarity, right? We can really simplify it and say there's only one of two things, and so as a result we say, oh, it's fucking really simple. But when we really start dissecting it, this is a very complex matter that requires some awareness to be shed on it. And Nathan did a fantastic job that night. The reason why we put that event on is because I've been going through my own journey, as you said, investing in myself and myself raising my vibration and my consciousness. And he was such an instrumental role in where I've gotten to today and understanding the struggles that I'm facing and how to handle them with more grace and more balance, that I was like, we need to take this to the mantras guys. These are guys that are interested in this kind of topic. And so to build off of your analogy, which I think is beautiful, right? We could say that the masculine energy creates form. It provides structure, boundaries, rules. And the feminine energy is what flows or is the experience within that and allows for the experience to be safe because of that structure. For me, I think another analogy that really makes sense is understanding saying that the masculine energy is a tops-down approach of decision-making and living, which I'll get into in a second, and then the feminine energy is a bottoms-up. So when I say top-down, men are very goal-driven, right? That's the reason why we can just continue pushing through, like, endure the suck, grind, keep going. Or in the more masculinity 1.0, don't be a pussy, stop being a little bitch. That's the way that we would speak to ourselves. And then also support each other that way, right? There's a better way. The feminine energy is one that is more in the experience itself, it's flow. So the decision making is from what do I want and what feels right in this moment, rather than what is better long term. And so, we scratched the surface with that conversation with Nathan, but really what we're aiming to do is to get a better understanding so we can see how that shows up in our own lives. And for me, as a man, I've really found security and certainty in knowing everything. And so that shows up by me having to make sense of everything, to account for everything, to create to have everything accounted for. And with me and my relationship with spirituality and God and that meandering and figuring out what I believe and what is right for me, I really struggled with allowing God to work in my life. And I sit there and I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, it's because I have toxic masculinity. I can't even surrender, allow, trust God to work in my life. So this is not just specific to the individual's genders. This is also the way that we show up in life. And I've been on my journey of trying to show up in a different way. And so we're trying to spread that to other men who are interested in that as well.
Beautifully put. Oh, we got some snaps. Sharon, we got the clock on. You the man. I think there was one thing that really popped up when you were talking there.
I was going for a while, sorry.
Yeah, you're in there. And I think really what this is also going to transform into, we're going to talk a lot about navigating relationships. And what does that look like? I am curious about this. I've gotten some feedback on it, but who felt like they had challenges navigating relationships in 2023? Okay. And how about even the beginning of this year? Okay. Things are evolving, things are changing. I think especially with the emerging of technology and how we're so distracted and there's so many options. And I guess that's one thing I want to dive into a little bit is the options. Whether you want to cover social media, whether dating apps, they did this, I heard this quote, it said there's over 70,000 brands that are trying to pull your attention when you're walking down the grocery aisle. It's a grocery aisle. Imagine 10 minutes on social media where everyone's just trying to pull your attention and there's so many different things that you could pour into. How do you make a decision these days? And I think that's where a lot of the masculine, the structure comes from. and having the discipline and the, what was the word? The boundaries. I think it would be good for us to talk about boundaries and what that looks like. But having the boundaries around social media, I mean, you've even brought it to my attention that like, oh, here's one other thing I was thinking about is, I heard this stat recently that said, I think it was US, and it said that men in the US, about 50% of them are not pursuing a relationship of any kind. That's frightening, right? Especially when we're talking about this whole conversation about connection. Like, that's scary, and that's why there's so much disconnection in this world.
I'm part of that problem too. Yeah, I mean, I bombed a beautiful relationship I had with my now ex-girlfriend in July of 2023 because I felt so broken. And I know that there's a lot of men that are going through the same experience. That's part of the motivation for why we want to be better and have these conversations. And there's a lot of pressure on men these days. And avoiding a relationship or not feeling worthy of a relationship, I think, is pervasive right now.
Yeah, it's easy to disconnect. I shared this at the last event, and it's something that's been really profound for me, but I have this portrait in my apartment, and there's two people on the portrait. There's a little kid just soaking up the rain, and there's a guy scrunched up under an umbrella because it's raining. And I get to see that every day. And we all get a decision. Like, yes, we all have our things that we've gone through, we've not shown up in the way we want, but we have a choice every single day on whether I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna keep an open heart, I'm gonna go for connection and love on people, or I can just scrunch up and say, nah, this person wronged me. Oh, they treated me bad. But that's why it's so important to just, I really believe that, is tap into the heart. Know that everyone's doing the best that they can.
Fuck yeah.
And the way people respond to you, let's say someone wrongs you or makes you feel terrible about yourself because of something you said, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them, their childhood, their traumas, the way they were raised, their belief system. And it's flipped for you too. So when you get triggered, when I get triggered, I know it's everything that's going on in the stories that I'm telling myself. So, I mean, we can weave back into the masculinity stuff, but I think we can kind of start weaving in like the relationships too. And something that I want to share that we've talked extensively about is, I heard a quote that says, small circle, big network. And I think especially as the emerging entrepreneur crowd, who here are entrepreneurs, by the way? Yeah, like 85% of them. So I think that's a big thing too, because it's like we're hustling, we're going, there's a lot of activity on social media, and that's where a lot of business is made, right? So how do you navigate those relationships? And I think it's about finding your small circle, big network. And my friend Jake Trio, shout out Jake, he talks about like the point of life is to find your manos, like your hands. Yeah. You only get a small amount of those, but that's where like it's finding alignment. Because even if someone does wrong you, it's okay. Like you're not supposed to have a deep connection with everybody that's in your circle. And sometimes you're on the wave with somebody for a while and then you guys start trailing off, and that's okay. But it's about just continuing to come back to alignment, and it comes from your values and what you really care about. And if there's alignment, awesome, continue on with that. If there's not, it's okay. We don't need to get all upset and angry at someone just because we're kind of growing in different directions.
Yeah, that's part of what this masculinity 2.0 movement's about. Middle finger mantras is there's a lot of competition going on between men. I like to call it a big dick swinging contest, and the question isn't whether someone is good or bad. That is very subjective. The question is, are they helping you and facilitating you and getting where you want to go and who you want to become? And so I feel like your reference to the manos or hermanos is to keep your circle small, to have it intimate and go and have depth instead of width, right, in relationships. And for me, in my experience and in my growth, I've had a lot of friends that want me to win, just not more than them. And the second I do, they start jabbing and taking cuts. And that's the toxic part of masculinity. That's one aspect, not the. And so masculine, like for middle finger mantras, what we say is, dude, it's not our job to tell you what man you should be or what you want in life. Our job is just to support you in whatever that is that you want. And want you to win unconditionally. And more than me. Like I want you to have everything in your fucking life that you want. And I hope I can be a part of that journey and then fucking celebrate you when you get that stuff. Instead of me being exposed and triggered by your accomplishments. We see that a lot, especially with men, because it's a constant game of achieve, win, status. And so, yeah, for me, like, I'm lucky where I don't just have one hand. I have multiple hands of really good friends that are in my corner, that love me and that I love them back. And if there's ever a time where I need someone, like, there's a clip in, I think it's called The Town, the movie, where he comes in and he's like, hey, we gotta do some shit. Can't ask me any questions. And he just looks at me and goes, whose car are we taking? It's like, I got plenty of dudes who are ride or dies that but that will be there for me if I need it. And likewise, and that's part of why Middle Finger Mantras has evolved into something that's so special and why guys are finding, solitude and like they're seeking asylum there, is that they feel supported and they feel like no matter what they want, they have someone that is assisting them in the pursuit of that and cheering them on along the way.
Yeah, and the reason that you have that is because you embody that. Okay.
I didn't always.
Right. But you are now.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll just shed a little light on this and praise you a little bit and show you guys what an amazing friend this guy is. I had a challenge in 2023 and I kind of like disconnected from everything. I moved out to Virginia for a while, but this was the guy that was following up. Hey man, how you doing? Hey, let's jump on a call. He just like intuitively knew. And then what really solidified it was the last podcast event. And so kind of my Achilles heel, and he's recognized it, is that there's people that derail me. Like I'm on a wave and things are going really well, and then someone derails me, right? And we did our typical, we have a powwow, go to In-N-Out Burger, get a couple double-doubles, and we were sitting in your truck, and you're like, dude, you're right there. You're right there. Stay the fuck away from anybody that has even the potential to derail you. And he just looked into my soul and said that, and I felt it. And I was like, I don't know if I've felt that level of friendship before. And you're embodying exactly what you're saying. You want me to win more than I want to win. And like, that's a true friend right there. That's a mono.
You deserve it.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, that was, it's been cool to have friends that are in pursuit of things that are meaningful. And as in entrepreneurship, we have buddies who are constantly trying new things and getting super excited and then going down to the pit of despair because they're like, fuck, that didn't work either, right? And they're facing all these challenges monetarily, emotionally, energetically. Meanwhile, they're trying to grow personally. And there was like a different level of conviction and confidence and certainty that you had when we were talking in and out. And this goes back to the comment about like, the question isn't if someone is a good person or not. The question is, are they supportive of where you're trying to go? And I was the person that was extremely pessimistic. I would enjoy poking holes in things, and so I was that not like I have been that friend that lowered other friends' energies when they want to do something. Oh yeah, but what about this? Have you thought about this? Well, are you sure this is gonna work? It's like, with all due respect, I'm creating my reality, and I believe that, and I'm on a fucking high right now, and I'm doing a really good job of creating that, and it's falling in line. The last thing I need is for someone to derail me. And so that was the conversation that we had, where it's like, dude, you energetically are vibrating differently right now. It doesn't matter if someone else is making more money than you. It doesn't matter if they have X, Y, and Z that you want. If they are taking you to a lower frequency, for the moment, fuck them. You don't need that shit. Are we allowed to cuss on this podcast? Fuck you. Right, fuck it. We'll do it live.
Yeah, and I would say that too, like, there was an energy that shifted in you. It was interesting because we were becoming very close when I came back from Virginia. And we were having a lot of great conversations, but I think we were both kind of like crawling out of the abyss. And then it was almost like we took a little break. And then we both were kind of doing our thing, working on ourselves, and then I distinctly remember having a conversation, whether it was like, I think it was right after Christmas. And I was like, asked how you're doing, and you're just like, fucking amazing. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And it just like, it raised me up. And then I got raised up, and then it raised you up, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it really is, it's an energy. It's an energy, and I think that puts us at a really good spot. I wanted to show you all this, because it's like, what is that? Like, how do you find your monos? How do you find that inner circle? And for me, like I've been big on this energy kick lately, and it's just this activation energy, as I talked about. And so even when people ask me, like, hey, what are you looking for in your small circle? And it was, for me, it was hard to explain that. It was like, oh, they click this and they say that. And, you know, and I think there's definitely a conversation around values and vision, and we'll get into that here in a little bit, but I found a reel probably about a week ago, and I was like, yep, that's it. These are my monos. So whether that's my, my friends, my, intimate partner, whatever it is that's my mono, this is what it is. So I want to show you guys.
Sorry, you guys can't see over there.
It's like you can't explain it, but like they're so in sync. It's like those are my mamas right there. Yeah. But like you can also look at it too, which is kind of interesting. Like at the end, they kind of veered off, and so like I heard a quote. It's on my phone. It's a little bit of a longer one, but basically it was saying that like I don't know. Is Kimberly here? Kimberly Blackburn? She's amazing. She has this book called Toxic Love, and she's just, had some amazing conversations, and she sent me this quote, and it was basically, are you pulling it up? Oh, no. It was basically saying that, like, I think we get lost in the fact that true love has to be forever.
I got you. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with it. I didn't know whose quote that was, but it's...
Yeah, read it. It's profound, because, and why he's teeing that up is that, the only thing that is forever, or what is it? The only constant is change. And so people that are in your inner circle and are your monos, like, they're not always going to be your monos. And I think that's the detachment from things have to be forever. It is a tough spot, and you get stuck in that. And if you feel like, oh, this person is my mono, so they're always going to be my mono. But if you get too attached to that, it's like open to everything, attached to nothing.
You want me to read it?
Read it.
I do believe some connections are here for a season. You learn from them, you grow from them, and you're better from them when you say goodbye. And there is a time to say goodbye. but that doesn't mean it's any less meaningful or significant. I think these connections play such an important role in how we grow in life. And I also think we lose ourselves in the expectation that it has to be forever to be true love.
Bars.
That cuts.
That's
That's fucking good. It's like,
That'll get you. And I think you can replace like whatever true love with just strong connection.
still love.
Facts.
I'm just kind of going off the top of the dome right now, but I feel like love I could define as when I give it, it still raises my own. There's been experiences I've had recently where I'm working out of stoicism, but periods in time where I energetically raise my bar because I see someone else that's low. And it's not like when I do that, I lower my bar. Seeing someone else increase theirs increases my own. It's not giving it away, this is masculinity 2.0, right? This is, instead of extraction or a zero-sum game, my win is your loss, it's elevation. I rise, you rise. What we say in mantras, especially when we do healing work, is a high tide lifts all boats. Right? This is a collective thing, and we can all fucking win. And we can all feel better. It's great. You should try it out.
Phenomenal. And that's a really good point, is that it is all love. And there's no such thing as conditional love. That's not love. It's only unconditional.
Yeah.
It's not I love you when you show me the love back. It's just I love freely. I love you no matter what.
Yep. And that includes when it's hard or you don't necessarily like someone too. Like it's operating that way. That is a part of your being, is that I am love. Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love you, bro. Chandler Mueller, everyone.
Shout out Chandler. And I think also it comes down to, we talked about the last podcast event, it really comes down to values.
Yep.
I think so many people are lost right now. You get swayed by all the options is because you don't have a North Star. I was there for a really long time. Thanks, Jeff. It's getting clear on your values, knowing who you are. A question I'm constantly asking people, whether that's clients or just friends, anybody on social media. One is, I love this question. Is Marlon in the house? Yep. Hey, my guy. So one of the things that I love about Marlon is he's always excited. He's like, I'm excited about this, I'm excited about this. And
Yeah.
I just find that such a profound question these days. And I feel like I'm able to activate people simply by asking the question is, what are you excited about right now? And it forces people to, one, be like, raise their frequency, because I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm excited about... No, they have to get actually excited and raise their frequency, raise their energy in a moment. And it'll come back to it's a decision. You can raise your frequency in a moment by asking the right question. But another question I always love asking is what do you want? And how do you want it to feel? And a lot of people struggle with that one. And from my personal opinion, is that they don't know who they are because they don't know their values. I like this snapping stuff. Never done this.
Neither have I. Yeah, and you are the one that really brought me to exercises to figure out my values. And I think that's been a game changer, and as well as just understanding that there's clarity around the simplicity in life. What does that word actually mean? And I feel like we use words all the time where it's I've been journaling, what does growth mean? what does trust mean? Like, these are all things that I've wanted to experience, but it's like, okay, well, what does that mean to me? Not just necessarily the dictionary definition, but like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? How does it show up in my life? And I think as we get more clear on those things, we're able to actually produce them, manifest them, materialize them in our life, and have an idea on what it is, or if that is a vibrational match. If you just say, what do you want? Like, I just want to be happy. Right on. What does that mean? Right? And like, in the exercise, The Values Factor, I believe, by
Dr. John DeMartini, incredible book. I would strongly recommend it. It's a dense one, but really strong.
Yeah, and then it showed up in some of my other work, which is To Be Magnetic. If you're a female, you may have heard of that. It's a very feminine, heavy practice, which has been really good for me in my journey. But they go through what they call the authentic code. It's the same exercise where there's, I want to say, probably 20 questions, and you list out the things that come to mind, and then it's an aggregation of like which ones show up the most. And so mine is connection, expansion, freedom, and creation. Did I say that right? Expansion, connection, creation, expansion, and freedom. Yeah. And so everything that I do in life, I try to filter through that. And I'm not able to check all 4 boxes all the time, but with a lot of things that I do, there's 3 at least. And then there's other things like mantras that are 4. And I go, all right, cool. Like, that is part of me finding my North Star, or having direction in my life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I think examples are profound. Because just what you're explaining, freedom, let's go with freedom and connection. Just keep it simple here. It really explains why you're so drawn to mantras. Because it is all about connection with other brothers, other men.
And thyself.
And thyself.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's when everything gets really clear. Like when we're able to simplify things, I think it was Stapes that told me this last weekend, is that amateurs take simple things and make them complex. Pros make complex things simple. So the more that we can simplify things, because it's like master the basics. When things are simplified, then you can make more clear decisions. And when you have that North Star, then you're walking down the grocery aisle and you're just like, yo, I want that, I want that, I want that. You're not as swayed. And honestly, it's just a time and energy saver. Like, how do you want to be living your life? Like, do you want to just be like a fart in the wind, sailing all around the place, or do you want to like have direction?
Yeah, do you want to stink or do you want to be great?
Yeah, I can't be stinking. Because for me, you know, I was in this phase for the longest time where I was like, I had no clue what I want. I was a YouTube ads media buyer for a while, and it was a great position, and worked with an awesome company, worked with some really cool clients, but I could just tell something was missing. And I was always gravitating to personal development. And when I discovered that truth and personal growth and experience and communication are some of my top values after going through a lot of these type of exercises, that's when I was able to get really clear on why I love bringing people together. I love communicating. I love putting together experiences like this. And I just love being innovative with it too. Like everyone that comes to these events are like, what is this?
This is new. This is kind of tight.
Yeah. And like once I got clear and I like removed all that interference of all like just the muck that was in the way of like just being swayed by everything out in this world, I was able to just be clear, and then the ideas and the downloads just keep flowing and keep flowing.
I would also add in my journey that when I struggled with getting clear on what I wanted, it's because I had a low self-worth or low deservingness. And that's something that I really have had to work on, and it's been a journey, and it required help, to be honest. It's been a lifelong journey of feeling worthy and feeling enough to be able to actually get clear on what I want. Because before then, it was just like, I'm at the mercy of whatever comes my way.
Who else ever has had thoughts like that, where they're not feeling worthy or they're not feeling enough. Yeah, good portion of the room. So I would love to hear some advice for us. Like, what have you been growing through? What's your journey been like to really start evolving through that? Knowing that we're always on the journey.
It's simple, but yet it's so fucking hard. Identifying that I wasn't happy and accepting that was step one. And that was part of me breaking up with my girlfriend and evaluating my life after I turned 30 in May, and then saying, this isn't it. I don't like who I am. Matter of fact, I actually fucking hate myself, which is a hard one to sit with. And then doing something about it. But for the longest time, until I acknowledged that I wasn't happy and that I didn't like myself, I just continued to stack on things that I thought would make me happy. There's a saying from Peter Crone, who I came through from my coach, and it says, you can never get enough of something that almost works. So for me, tobacco, chewing tobacco specifically, and when I really want to go off the rails, hand-rolled cigarettes, marijuana, abuse that like I should have been living in a VW van type status. And then masturbation and sex. Like, I don't really have the ability to moderate things very well. I should change the wording on that. I have struggled with moderation in my life.
Historically speaking.
Historically speaking, which has been a benefit, but also an Achilles heel. And so I just did everything to feel better in the moment, and it just required more and more and more and more. And it wasn't until, so I said, like, accepting the fact that I didn't like who I was, sitting with that, and then figuring out something, what action I would take to do that. And it's funny, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And for me, that teacher was Mike Ligori. He's staying over here in the gray shirt.
Shout out Mike Ligori.
Yeah. To choose myself and invest in myself was step two. And I've always heard people, especially like coaches, talk about like you have to hire a coach, you have to invest in yourself. I'm like, easy for you to say, you're fucking pitching me, bro. Like, that's what you want me to do. Like, ask a baker what he should have for dinner, and he's gonna say cake. Ask a butcher, he's gonna say steak, right? Like, it's a self-serving thing, but then I go, you're right. And as I acknowledged that I wasn't happy and I didn't like who I was, and I didn't feel worthy, which he helped me identify more of, because I was in denial of that, he appeared, and he was the first coach that I came across where I was like, oh, he can actually help me. And I think some of that might be the state that I was in, but I think a lot of it is a credit to him and truly how much love he has in his journey. Because he's the first person that got me to have a breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And there's so many moments in time where I go, dude, I fucking don't like you. You make me so uncomfortable. And to the point where it's like, I thought ego deaths were only part of plant and medicine ceremonies, but they're not at all. And for me, and how strong my ego was and is, it really requires someone to observe what's going on, because my thought patterns and my cycles are very, very strong and valid. And it requires someone else to be able to look at you and be like, why? How come? What proof do you have of that? Oh, okay, cool. Hey, I understand that that's shown up a lot in your life, and that is truth. But like, do you want it to continue to be true? You said you just don't like the last 30 chapters of your book. So are you gonna write new ones, or are you just gonna have the same fucking thing repeat in your life? I go. So yeah, for me, that's some of the things that we can go into, or that some of like the high level, the progression of self-growth. But we can get into more specifics if you want, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think it's powerful what you say too, like the first step is always awareness.
Yep.
We don't know what we don't know. And that is the power of getting mentorship and getting, not even like mentorship, just outside perspective. Because another one you dropped on me recently, it blew my fucking mind. You're like, are there answers? Like, are there? I don't know. I think it's you just gain different perspective.
It's a choice. The question isn't whether something is true, the question is it facilitating you where you want to go? I have plenty of truths in my life that are hindrances and are self-limiting beliefs. And it's my job to identify those and rewire those and find the validity or the support of that new truth. Like, if we're gonna go a little bit more into the brain, right? Like, my reticular activating system is just looking for validation of the things that I identify as being true. And so if I have the belief that good people are hard to find, it's going to show up. If I have the belief, a more common one is like, money is the root of all evil. Here's a better one, more part of my recent stuff is, don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of greatness. Wow, that is awesome to hear because I was like completely rejecting that for all of my life until about 2 weeks ago, and it spun me into an absolute 4-day deep depression because I go, I am. Wow, that's crazy. I don't know what we were talking about now. I'm just gonna
Blacked out.
That's how I felt when I actually came to terms and accepted that I am my own worst enemy and that I am scared of success. I go, oh shit.
Yeah, well, it's that Marianne Williamson quote. It's not, and it's popularized by Coach Carter. That I forget it. I can't come up with the spot right now, but well, maybe I can. Is not our deepest fear that we are inadequate. Is our deepest fear that we are powerful beyond measure.
Dude, that's teamwork. Nice job.
That's our light, not our darkness. Does anyone have it? It might be worth reading. Do you have it offhand?
Sounds like he's got it off the top of his dome.
But you know, it's so true. I think these truths, like, everyone experiences this stuff. Just as I asked, like, we all have our self-doubts. We all have our limiting beliefs. And it's okay.
We all have egos that want to survive.
Yeah, and that's what we were even talking about when we were walking down here. It's like, we are programmed to want to survive, to continue our lineage. Like, that's what we're made for on a cellular level.
Biologically, but also mentally, and the idea we have of ourselves.
Say it again.
Biologically, yes, we want to survive and reproduce, but also from an identity standpoint. That's why it was so hard for me to accept that I was scared of success. Going back to me having to make sense of everything. I push back on Mike so hard, I go, there's no way, dude. I work so hard for what I want, and you're telling me that I'm scared of success? No. He goes, Ryan, we're not talking about conscious thought, we're talking about the subconscious. And I go, all right. He goes, so you tell me, look at the patterns that you brought to me and why you're unhappy with yourself, and part of the reason why you hate yourself. You tell me if you're scared of success. And there I went. And then came out on high. But it required an ego death. Like, that was the things that I am most resistant to are the things that are probably true. And that's been, when I said I was journaling on growth, my definition of growth, and this brought me to fucking tears the other day, was the full circle completion of things that I now accept that I used to once reject. Your good is good enough. Ryan, you don't have to make that much money to be happy. I'm like, what the fuck do you know? I'm trying to make boatloads. And now I'm like, dude, I could literally make $30,000 doing what I'm doing right now a year, and I'd be ecstatic, loving life. And it's all these things that come full circle where why I was brought to tears is because I'm a firm believer that we have everything at our disposal and in reach that we need. It's our ability to allow, going back to the feminine, right? To receive. It's not like I haven't been told these things my entire life. The man who thinks he can and thinks he can't are both right. It's like, oh, it sounds really good. Looks good on a t-shirt. What the fuck does that mean? It took me after my baseball career and actually looking at how powerful my thought was, my brain and the things that I imagined, to realize that that is absolutely true.
And I think I made a post a while back. I was on a FGMB podcast. It was, I don't know if Michael and Blake are here, but I was explaining manifestation in a very simplistic way. And because I think that gets misconstrued a lot. What is manifestation? Good thoughts. But the way I explain it, and that's really where this came from, Just Grow, is trees. It's not tree. It's not tree. They teach us so much. And it's just like creation. Life is creation. Whether that's a plant, whether a tree, you put the seed in the ground, you cover it with soil, you nurture that soil, and it eventually sprouts and turns into a beautiful tree. Right? It's the same thing with our thoughts. It's the same thing with us. We are creating everything in our life. Only when you're like proud of the things that you're creating are you like taking responsibility, but we're always creating. You're 100% responsible for everything that goes in your life. So it starts with your thoughts. You nurture those thoughts with emotion, and eventually, that's what you create.
And there are also seasons that are part of that. And nature never hurries, but everything is accomplished. And life always finds a way.
Yeah. So we've hit about the 45-minute mark. We want to open it up to some questions, some engagement. I want you guys to take part in that, so we can just have more of a dialogue back and forth. But the other thing that we want to highlight too is with a lot of the things that we're talking about, values and getting clear on your vision. As Ryan mentioned, we have a pretty damn cool process for actually creating that, and it's been in the making for quite some time. Who here has heard of our vision audios by chance? Okay, so like half the room. It's the most powerful personal development tool I've ever seen, and
I attest.
we want to show Ryan's. We have a trimmed down clip. Are you guys cool if we show Ryan's? Yeah?
Anyone else hate hearing their own voice? All right, cool.
But it's this ultimate just smorgasbord of self-love and putting out those thoughts, nurturing those thoughts, because you nurture those thoughts with the feeling. And that's what we realize, is that a thing that is missing most of the time is the feeling. It can be challenging to feel that. So that's why we created these, and that's why I'm pumped to share this.
Yeah, I'd also build on that to give a little bit more insight into why we say that this is such a powerful tool. Is I think that the process that you took me through, but also your clients through, is really getting that clarity. And that, I think, is so important. And then you combine it with something that you can consume on a daily basis to put yourself in that state. Or another way of saying that is to put yourself in an environment that is supportive of growth. Whether that's middle finger mantras of being around guys who want you to succeed and that is supportive of that, or if it's the mental environment that you're in and the thoughts that you want to think and programming yourself and having repetition to actually get into your subconscious. I think that's really like why this is such a powerful tool. So let's listen to my voice.
So this is just going to be the audio. There'll be a waveform, so feel free to close your eyes and just like feel into this and really, really soak it in and just stay present. Take some big, deep breaths and just allow.
Hey, Ryan, it's me. It's you. The future you.
I'm so excited for you to get here, but I'm equally, if not more, pumped for you to embrace every moment until you do get here. It's cool to see how magnetic, authentic, and loving you are. I'm excited for you to see who you've become and all you've achieved. Yeah, the fly fishing for trout in Alaska's rivers, your beautiful wife and children who you adore and who complete your family, the thousands of dollars in monthly income earned pursuing your passions, but most importantly, all the lives you've had a massive impact on, especially your own. Now I have some really exciting news to share with you, and we'll get to it here in the next few minutes. But first I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to say. I know things get challenging every once in a while. I know you want to quit from time to time. I know sometimes you get impatient, but all I can tell you is embrace it. You learn that even through times of discomfort and uncertainty, the best version of yourself will always win out if you trust your gut. You rejected negativity and resolved to help others, becoming a great big brother to Ethan. Your first deal in real estate wholesaling, you landed a 110K spread. You joined an all-star team with one of your biggest portfolio lenders in the country. You're powerful and it's fun to watch. But don't just take it from me. Hear it from these people.
Ryan, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for the kind and encouraging words. I really appreciate that. I'm super grateful for you. Glad that you come into my life. I believe in you and everything that you're trying to do and what you're going to do in the future. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for all of it and to help you, support you, push you, compete with you along the way. And yeah, let's get this shit done, man. I'm looking forward to growing with you.
I'm incredibly grateful for you. Anybody that I've talked to that knows you feels the exact same way. You're dialed in, you're a good person, you're smart, you're an incredible human being.
And that's just a tiny fraction of the people you've impacted up until this day. I'd say you're pretty loved. From all those people and plenty more, but most importantly, from you, from me. And here's some truth from me to you that I don't want you to ever forget. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. You're literally one of the most generous, inspiring, and determined people anyone has ever met. You had always been rather dialed in, but once you created that vision video with Nick, things really started to shift. You renewed your commitment to growing into your best self, investing your time and energy into caring for your mind, body, and spirit. Devoting yourself to these changes, you completely transformed your health and well-being. You grew strong, agile, stable, and took ownership in building a mind and body that reflected the powerful, positive energy you carried within you. You felt at home in yourself, balancing strength with flexibility. You were free to follow your passions and attract the wealth and abundance they could bring to you, both spiritually and financially. Focusing your attention on middle finger mantras, you started to bring in $8,000 a month and built a net worth of over $100,000. With your new financial stability, you manifested the life you've always dreamed of. And whenever adversity would show its face, you would look for the silver lining, rejecting paralyzing negativity and leaning into the pain and resistance with the assurance that you would remain grounded. And because of the way you continue to show up regardless of the challenges, you became a voice for sustainable regenerative agriculture, detailing your journey with Nick on the Just Grow podcast and helping build new attitudes and solutions for the future through your TEDx talks. You're in demand, Ryan. Your success and influence has drawn attention from all over the country. People look to you for guidance, and your generous spirit leads you to share your experiences hosting and facilitating middle finger mantra events. You inspire others to learn how to ground themselves, how to have conviction while challenging status quo. With every life you touch, you are helping to change the hearts and minds to act with positivity and agency. You resolve to find these solutions for the future, not just for yourself, but for the generations to come. Although you can never know what lies ahead, you have so many people standing by your side who love you and are rooting for you every step of the way. I'm so proud of you, and now I want you to answer a couple questions with the two most powerful words the human and language with 100% conviction. I am. Are you always pushing your comfort zone and moving from your intuition? Are you the type of person that has the fun and lightness about you that is infectious when people get around you? Are you mindful and present where anyone that talks to you feels like they're the most important person in the world? Are you the type of person that handles life in stride and has this incredible ability to always choose the meaning of what life presents you with? Are you constantly living from a state of abundance? Are you the type of person that has this crazy ability to simply let go of things that are not serving you? Ryan, I've never seen anything like your success. I love how you're the most engaged but the least attached. I love how you choose to bring great energy to every moment. It's so obvious how grateful you are for every single breath of your life. Ryan, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you've always been. And I love who you're constantly becoming.
I'm sorry, Susie, you were in there, and I cried when I heard your voice, but we clipped it and shortened it, so.
Proud of you, dude.
Thank you.
You really, like I mentioned before, and I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it, but you're just really showing up, and that's what I'm so proud of about you. So, obviously, wanted to open it up for any questions, anything you want to add to the conversation, and yeah, let's just have it.
Should we give him a mic?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
I just want to say that I just love you both, and I've been like really blessed, both of you over the last couple of years, and I just want to say how much joy it's brought to me to watch your guys' success grow, like Nick, from the very beginning, the guy and him from the very beginning. To see what you created here is just such a blessing. And back in 2021, I got a vision or a message, and it said, "It is through the hearts of men that we will heal the world." And I love that you guys are carrying out this conversation. But what I want to know is, what does that mean to you?
What is?
It is through the hearts of men that we will heal the world.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the men are the leaders. And if we're not leading, then it throws everything off whack. And so, yeah, it's challenging for men right now, but it's also a responsibility. Because we even, like, when we were having a conversation here a couple weeks ago, it was like, whose fault is it? And it's like, we could say like it's ignorance, but it's like it's a man's responsibility to step up. That would be my answer.
Yeah, I think there's a responsibility, but there's also an opportunity. I think the comment that I made at the beginning of the hurt and frustration that men are experiencing is having a rippling effect to the people that they're also coming into contact with. And so for me, and now my understanding of masculine and feminine, there's definitely a higher concentration of masculine energy within most men. And it is our job to provide safety so that the women can go into their divine feminine. And I think that us playing our roles and having that harmony and that synergy is what is going to allow us to work together better and also live healthier, more fulfilling lives.
Yeah, why don't we, just one of us will respond to each person so we can get as many people in. I think we'll do what time is it? Anybody have the time? 8:30?
8:33.
Okay, so we'll probably go another 15, 20 minutes and we'll feel it out, but yeah, go ahead.
Is there a number on the screen?
I think now it's on.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Before I ask my question, I do want to take a moment and just tell you thank you so much for gathering this event and having all these incredible people show up. And I do think it's important to acknowledge that, everyone has been through, everyone has a story, but it's important to remember the story doesn't end, it continues.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Ryan was able to share sort of the future Ryan self. And I think it's always beautiful to tap into that. But if you guys want to just take a moment and breathe in, close your eyes and ask yourself, if your younger self was here right now with you, what is something you would tell your inner child?
I love you. I love you and I'm proud of you. Simple. Because that's one big thing at the end, and I thought that was very important. That's why we put it into the script, is that it's, Ryan, I love you. I love who you've always been. I love who you are. And I love who you're constantly becoming. Now get up and make it a great day. And it comes back to, like we talked about, like the self-love. Like saying, I love you, I'm proud of you for everything. I think that the challenge that I've come against, and I know a lot of the people vouch for this as well, is there's parts of them that they're not proud of. And yeah, there's all pieces of us that we're not proud of. Ryan and I connect a lot on our baseball journeys, on things we weren't proud of, but it also is what made us who we are and why we are where we are today, and today is perfect. And when you make peace with where you're at, you're able to make peace with everything that has gone down.
Okay. All right. So thank you for this work and for sharing the vital importance of what it means to be a healthy masculine. It brings so much trust in the feminine and just the collective. So thank you to both of you for having the courage to share. And yeah, the questions that I have that are arising is like this masculine 2.0. It is, from the sounds of it, like the embracement, the embodiment of the divine feminine and masculine, and also like embracing and redefining what it means to be a man and to be that like safe force. Mm-hmm. And so you spoke of the values and like what you've done and how you've alchemized to be who you are. And what are like the practical application? Like what can you call men into, and feminine, like all of us? What can we invite forward for everyone to start embracing like daily? Like what are those things for you?
Well, I think first we need to heal. And so we say that if you want to heal your shit, you need to feel your shit. Which doesn't mean lose your shit, but it does mean release your shit. And I think for me and my experience of completely shutting down and numbing myself from all feeling and experience because of hurt that I went through, I think allowing ourselves to embrace the uncomfortable feelings is not only a spiritual journey, but part of that ability to be part of masculinity 2.0. Goes back to the allowance, the feminine energy of being able to embrace and cultivate, nurture. It's a part of like a self-care and self-love practice. But I think if we can feel things to a deeper level, we can receive the messages that are intertwined in those experiences, and that allows us to evolve as people and as men.
Yes. Can I invite one more thing?
No. Just kidding.
So also with that, like what is that like masculine force looking like? Because I feel like there's been such the feminine and the masculine, and so for feminine to soften back into the feminine, how can the masculine be like that safe container? You know, like you're saying we can feel, like you're feeling it and allowing it to be free through you feeling it. Mm-hmm. Like there's also in your work like that masculine expression coming through. You know what I mean? Like the battle, and like it's not a battle, but you know what I mean, the fighting and everything, and you're giving that space for men to to free that?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of shaming around masculinity. They say it's toxic, or you shouldn't be that way. I think that's kind of in isolation or in a vacuum specifically to certain instances. Like masculinity in of itself is just an energy, it's an expression. And so we support men by putting them in environments and connecting through shared experiences where they're encouraged to be physical, mindful, and vulnerable. Our retreat progression that we go through is understanding that men connect on a physical level, and that is how safety, trust, and respect is established. So like us shooting firearms together is part of phase one of creating connection, because there's a lot of men's groups all over the place. They stick you into a room, they say, talk about your feelings, and everyone goes, I'm great, nothing's wrong, right? But when we start going through experiences together, like shooting firearms, and Nico also have you shot guns before that moment?
Like very
rarely, right? Like you're out of your comfort zone, but then you also experience men pouring into you and facilitating you in that journey.
Yeah.
And then you put on headgear and boxing gloves and experience what we call conscious combat. That's not what we fucking call it. We're gonna go with that right now.
Conscious combat.
Consensual combat. There it is.
Yeah.
Right, to where this isn't Fight Club, but we are trying to feel our emotions. And if we're gonna talk about what's easiest for people or men who are numb to feel, we go back to what they were doing when they were little boys. They were destructive, they were violent, they were aggressive. Cool, so like, let's get there. If you only wanna go 30% because you're not well-versed in hand-to-hand combat, like, there's a guy who will love you and go 30%. If you're a guy who fucking gets after it and you wanna go 100%, there's a guy that will stand up for you in that as well. It's part of that, it's not competition, it's collaboration. We're part of each other's experience. And so, we give men the environment and the ability to step into that masculine role and do so in a way that it's appropriate. It's not about if masculinity is bad, are we applying it in the right scenario? So like two analogies I'll make real quick, because I'm sorry to ramble, is if we're gonna, water would be more attributed to the feminine, but let's just use it as a masculine medium right now, and say if there's a oil fire on your stovetop, and you go dump water on it, it's going to be more harm than good. There's a time and a place for each energy. And then the other thing I would say is men have been stagnant in their masculinity to where it's kind of been diluted. I say that good men are like dicks. If I was to walk around with an erection 24/7, or if I was to be emotionally hard 24/7, you'd be like, something's wrong with you, bro. Like, you should go see a doctor. That blue pill has got you. Right, the best dicks are soft 90% of the time. And the 10% of the time that they are needed to be hard, they are hard as shit. So it's like, let's just give guys the appropriate arena to be hard when it's called for. It's not that they can't be. Yeah, there we go. It's balance, baby.
Let's get a male perspective. I'd love to hear male here. And we'll get like probably two or three more.
What's up, guys? Ryan, in the beginning, Nico asked you a question, and you paused. And you took a breath, and you asked instead to feel into it. I was hoping you could circle back to that and explain that practice a little bit more, and bring some clarity and light to what that was.
Great question. So that was, once again, shout out Nathan Corey. That was part of our masculine feminine conversation we had last Tuesday. And there's a very common theme of men to just go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to force this. And the allowing for that harmony between the masculine and feminine. I wish I could like look at you in the eyes. I'm just gonna stand up and talk to you. The ability for men to pause and allow and receive is something that is very contradictory. And so we observed that in Nathan when he was talking about the masculine and feminine, and he went into the explanation of like, it's, instead of using force, we can allow things to evolve. We don't always have to push forward or grind or fit a square peg into a round hole. So for me, with a very open-ended question, with nerves going, I go, the last thing that I want to do is just start fucking talking. I've done that plenty of times in my life and it didn't work out well. So the pause was a very intentional, let me see what I'm feeling, let me allow myself to get clear, and then let me proceed. And actually providing that input or that context around, like, that is a good question, let me pause for a second, is the masculine energy creating the structure or the rules and boundaries so that everyone doesn't go, what the hell's going on? Because if I just were to stay quiet and like close my eyes, everyone would be like, is he okay? Right? But when I can provide structure, there's now the freedom to express and experience within that. And that's why, so yeah, thank you for that question. Does that answer it?
Hi. First I want to say thank you, Nico, for inviting me. I've been wanting to come to one of these for a long, long time. So I'm very grateful to be here with everybody that's in this room. And my question to you guys is, as a woman, what are some things we can do to help the men in our life really step into their masculine energy?
That was a great question.
Can we both answer that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them to go to Ryan's events. Ryan has been telling me that there's a huge, like, the advocates of your guys' brand is women. Because they want the men to lead, they want to feel safe. Is that what I'm kind of picking up from you? Is like, you want that safety?
Yeah, and I feel like you guys acknowledge that and take responsibility for wanting to provide a safe space for women. But as a woman, we also have a role in our men's life to create a safe space for you to want to do that for us. So what can we do to fall back a little bit and allow you to step up for us?
Well, for me, I just keep coming back to communication. Like, communication is everything. If you're not communicating, like, something that's really been big for me lately, for whatever reason, it's really called me back, the 4 agreements. It's so simple, but it's so profound. Be impeccable with your word. What is that? Communication. Don't make assumptions. My healing and just journey as a whole is, I ask myself that usually every day now. I'm like, did I make assumptions? Because I usually see, from any time I'm like getting angry or resentful or pissed off or any negative emotions towards other people, it's usually me creating a story based on an assumption. But once I have that conversation with the person, I'm like, oh, wow, I just made all that shit up in my head. And I think when we're impeccable with our word and we can communicate, I think there's different layers to this. I think Ryan will definitely ping on it. But for me, it's just be impeccable with your word. And I think clear communication can really solve a lot. But again, there's more layers to it, but that's my first response. I'll let Ryan have at it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. What was your name?
Myra.
Myra?
Yes.
Yeah, I also just want to acknowledge, like, the ownership of that and the desire to serve, which is beautiful. So thank you for even having the intentionality of that question. There's 2 things that come up for me. One is that men want to be respected. That is how they receive love. And so to honor him in that pursuit of his better self and to step into his masculine is to allow him to progress through the range of emotions and the pressure that he applies on himself. There's already enough pressure that he has coming internally. He doesn't need anything externally. And the external pressure that he needs is from a brotherhood. That's called positive peer pressure. The next thing I would say is that in divine union, we will often talk about you complete me, you are my everything. Men need brotherhood because he is expected to be stable emotionally for you. And so he can't bring certain things to you. And if he does, history shows him and tells him that massive expressions of vulnerability creates abandonment for women. So if there's pressure on him to share with you and to continue to like, just tell me what's going on, I'm so curious, honor him in his solitude. That is how he's processing. If you start applying more pressure to him to share, it's going to create friction. I just encourage you to have him lean into male friendship and healthy male friendship. And I think that that is a progression that will support a man stepping more into his masculine.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You guys, so grateful to be here. I attended Nico's last event. It was awesome, and this is just as wonderful. This is such an important conversation for this time, the divine masculine, divine feminine, on this like age of enlightenment that we're walking into. I just want to make a comment, because I had a very similar question about how you see holding space for a woman to serve as her best self. Because I'm all about aligning to the highest self. But I think that part of the conversation for the Masculinity 2.0 is that, you know, the subconscious is driven by the ego, okay? And like the ego and your subconscious, your survival centers are your first three energy centers. And when men learn to lead from their heart, right? Your heart is like the gateway to the cosmos. And I've been doing a lot of energy work myself, and I love hearing men have this conversation, because I think a lot of the conversation was about courage to lead with your heart and how do you feel. And it's all heart-centered conversation. So it's about men who can step up and now be heart-centered leaders, right? For their families, for the people in their lives. And I think men have suppressed their emotions for a really long time. They've been in their survival centers. And it's like just this like dueling competition instead of leading from a heart space where everyone can win, right? Like you talked about competition earlier. So I don't really have a question per se. I was just kind of adding to the conversation about this masculinity 2.0. I love the conversation. It's a great conversation about heart-centered leaders. So, thank you.
Thank you for that input, because I mean, I'm on that journey right now as well. Leading from my heart is something that is a hopefully not lifelong journey, but has been a big focus of mine, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, and it takes time. So I appreciate the grace and patience.
The unlearning is just as important as the learning, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear one more male perspective.
Hello?
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this thing on? So my question.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good.
What about now? Cool. So my question is for someone who this may be their first time hearing about masculinity and femininity, not first time, but like really kind of diving in depth of it, and they're not really sure. They're not going to join some type of group. They're not going to hire a coach because they're just learning about it. What resources would you suggest from podcasts, literature, whatever that can kind of introduce them and have that understanding? So then maybe if we'll join a group or do these things, but piquing that interest.
Yeah, great question. What's your name, man?
My name's Kelby.
Say it one time.
Kelby.
Kelby with a great mustache.
Thank you.
I love that question, and I really wanted to respond to this one. I would say one of my superpowers for a while has been learning, education, and it's so powerful. The more educated we get, the better decisions we can make, the more perspective we have. And I understand what you're asking, because it's like, when you're just starting out, it can look a little daunting to be like, oh wow, these guys are punching each other in the face, and then they're meditating. I've never meditated before. What the fuck is going on? And I reflect back onto my journey, and I really started with like courses. Well, even before that, just like going onto YouTube. We have an endless amount of resources these days. Like YouTube is my jam. I mean, I would say I've kind of graduated from that because I choose to like invest into things a little bit more, because I get more direct access to the questions that I want answered and more perspective. But becoming resourceful and just a madman on a mission to be resourceful. I mean, even my mom will, like, when I'm back home, she'll ask me a question about like some little thing, and I won't know how to do it. But I will go on YouTube and figure it out in 2 minutes, because I'll like speed up the play rate as well, and I'm just like, I just love like learning and implementing very quickly. So that would be my advice. And there's so many different resources. I mean, we can get into the AI conversation too, but like stuff like ChatGPT or Bard, like you can ask them questions and you're literally like tapping into infinite knowledge. So I don't think there's no excuse for for ignorance, what we talked about. There's no excuse. So dive into that stuff, learn it at your own pace. But the other thing I will say to that is that just fucking do it. Like, if you're scared about jumping into something like mantras, do it. There's no better time. And when I started this podcast, I had this idea on top of a mountain, and a week later we were in a room with a similar size of this. And if I didn't take action right away, I could have, this might never been. And I was scared as shit to start. And I'm scared as shit every time I'm about to speak. But I say, I'm scared, and I'm gonna do it anyway.
Love that. Is there any specific authors or specific people that impacted you greater than others that you would say are like must-reads?
I guess I would deepen that question, and it's like, what is it specifically that you're looking for?
I guess, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, understanding the masculine and feminine terrain. Of course, I've done a lot of my own self-education. That's why, like, I'm yearning to find more resources than what you would suggest. I've read numerous books myself too, so I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I'm just wondering if there's any specific people that stuck out to you more that you would highly recommend.
I think this topic is something that's really starting to be talked about more often, and there's a lot of discovery going on. And there's a lot of people who have opinions. Your initial question was, if someone is resistant to joining a group or getting a coach for this kind of stuff, what resources can you go to? I don't have any besides specific people, and that's what Mantras is doing. This is not something where it's like, this is like the discovery of the internet at the beginning, where everyone has a fucking opinion, and 90% of people are going to be proven wrong. I think Sam is I think she's left now. Sam is a very evolved person who can apply and articulate these concepts. She initially had resistance to us talking about the feminine led by a man. There you go. Very valid point. We're not talking about genders, though, we're talking about energies. And Nathan Corey is the most evolved individual who has spent the last 10 years of his life